Wow, you're welcome to this edition of Dialogue Box on Blossom Nigeria. It's a beautiful new week and we are grateful to God. We thank God because as a nation, we know that the challenges are immense. They are much. A lot of Nigerians are not in the system right now, but despite all odds, we know that what we have and with the resources that are available to us, we can move the nation in the right direction. And that is why we're discussing this morning on how we can help in getting the right feedback and the reaction so that the government can balance the decision they have made in deregulating the petroleum sector and also the electricity sector, leading to price hike of petroleum products and also the electricity tariffs that have increased. So this morning we'll be going straight to our discussion and we'll just give you some background information on it. We have it that there have been strong indications that the federal government may not reverse the new fuel pump price. That's the new fuel pump price regime because it is determined to end the culture of fuel subsidy, which officials say has gulped about 10.78 trillion in 14 years. In addition to this, the government is also not contemplating a review of the new electricity tariff because the sector is already deregulated. So though the government's decision is a welcome development to fully deregulate the sectors, lots of critics are of the opinion that the decision is being implemented at the wrong time. So the question then is, what more can be done to address the price hike in petroleum products, electricity tariffs, the rising cost of food prices, and the current inflation in the economy? These and more in this edition of Dialogue Box. You can reach us on 090-5252-5107, 090-5252-5107, and let's discuss. Then in addition to this, you can also get across to us on our YouTube channel and be a subscriber. So we also have our page on Facebook that is currently on. So every avenue you have to discuss this, let's look at it and talk the nation in the right direction. Then while your calls and your comments are coming in, we have it that we have it that the presidential spokesman Garba Shehu has said in a statement that President Muhammadu Buhari removed subsidy on petrol and electricity to stop the mismanagement of taxpayers' money and eliminate corruption associated with subsidies. So as a follow-up to this, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) has collected electricity performance improvement plan from each of the 11 distribution companies in the country as a precondition for the new tariffs. Now, the government sources stated that government planned to deploy savings from the fuel and electricity subsidies for infrastructural development and as part of efforts to make life comfortable for Nigerians. So the government is said to be determined to end the fuel subsidy regime because only a few Nigerians have been benefiting from it. Then with an average yearly spending of about 1 trillion naira, the federal government says it cannot continue with the fuel subsidy regime because it does not benefit most Nigerians. And the government believes that there is too much corruption associated with the Petroleum Subsidy Fund. That's a PSF. So they say marketers use it to get paid for frivolous claims. Then the subsidy is also said to be reduced to a matter of figures by these marketers without corresponding importation of petroleum products. Then with the removal of the subsidy, which has led to increase in petroleum and electricity prices across Nigeria, retail price of petrol has also increased by about 10% to about 151, between 151 naira and 160 naira per liter, while the average unit cost of electricity has increased by almost 100% to about 62 naira kilowatt per hour. So though the organized labor and the civil liberty groups are said to be continuing with their plan to launch a protest later this week over the fuel price increase and hike in electricity tariffs. The Nigerian government says that the way it is now, the Nigerian pump price is still the cheapest in Africa. So the question is, what then should be the way forward to stabilize the economy with this hike in prices? Send your comments and your suggestions on this edition of Dialogue Box. So with what we have gotten so far, with the background information, it is clear that though the government has deregulated the sector as was being clamored for in the era of fuel scarcity, because there was a time that fuel scarcity was like a regular thing, and Nigerians clamored that the government should deregulate the sector instead of trying to subsidize, and at the end of the day, it results to scarcity of petroleum products. But now that the deregulation has fully taken place, it has also led to increase in petroleum products. That's fuel price now being 151 naira, between that range to 160 naira. And this is also having the law of the background effect that also affects the economy, leading to increase in food prices. That's a lot of hike in prices in the market right now, even food prices and different other aspects of the economy. So with this, even with the electricity tariffs, Nigerians are wondering, is it a better system? Is it something that the government should be encouraged to continue with? Or is it something that they should just maybe shelve the idea and look for an alternative means of resolving the current challenge in these sectors? But the government is of the opinion that it is only benefiting a few. It's only a few Nigerians that are benefiting from the subsidy regime. And they think that corruption has also been so high in these sectors because of the subsidy. And according to the statistics, they spend an average of about 1 trillion naira in trying to subsidize petroleum products on a yearly basis. So what can be done to strike a balance in the system right now? And if that is the case, should the government be encouraged to continue with further deregulation of the sector? And that means that petroleum products, for instance, will be determined by market forces. That's the challenge. And with that, though it's a good one, seeing to it that there will be availability of products, but it can also lead to hike in price at any point in time. Because according to the government, market prices and market forces should determine the prices of petroleum products, including fuel. So what should be the way forward in tackling this? All right. So is there a means to really resolving this challenge? These are very, very core issues that we should look into. You can call us on 090-5252-5107. 090-5252-5107. Let's look at this together. And when you have your suggestion, we also weigh it with the current challenges that are in the sector, because a lot of Nigerians, like we said earlier, seem to be in pain and they are not happy with the system. And even the organized labor force, the NLC, Nigerian Labour Congress, and the different labor units and agencies are coming up with a protest later this week. So something that they believe that the government should have a turnaround. But if we weigh it with the different market forces, should they be encouraged to still go ahead with protests, knowing fully well that the government is saying that they have deregulated the sector? So right now, electricity tariffs are high, but then President Buhari recently gave a directive that every estimated billing system should be reversed, and it should be on prepaid meters, and that is the presidential directive to the electricity sector. But even though some form of kind of a partnership between the government and the private sector is currently on in the electricity distribution sector, a lot of Nigerians still think that if there is more competition in that sector, a lot more will be done to balance the system and see to it that more needs are met than is being currently experienced. More needs will be met if there is a full deregulation of the electricity sector, and it's determined by the private sector. And if the government leaves the private sector to take over the electricity sector fully, will it also not be a system that will be too based on profits to the detriment of the comfort of Nigerians? And that will be a system that tomorrow they can wake up and tell you that electricity is no more at 61 naira, it has moved to 17 naira, and you can't do anything about it because according to them it is based on market forces. So should the government just leave them to operate? But this aspect will only have the advantage of continued availability of these products. That is the only advantage, and that means that there will seem to be no scarcity of any of these products. But what is the benefit to Nigerians, the overall benefit to Nigerians? So you can talk to us on 090-5252-5107, and let's look at it together. And while that is going on, should the organized private sector also go ahead with their protest later this week? That's a very key part that we should look at. All right, we have it from Savior Nduka. It says that pro-COVID-19, or rather pre-COVID-19, we were the poverty capital of the world. At the height of COVID-19, with the economy sort of shut down, more Nigerians possibly become poorer. So at this time of economic opening and easing, just a second, and easing incentives, interventions, dropping of commercial loan interest, and so forth, should be the vanguard of any policy thrust, not policies that are inflationary policies that increases poverty, and when such is gets as good as mine. So what Savior Nduka is indirectly saying is that the policy may be okay, but the timing seems to be wrong, and that with that it may not benefit Nigerians at this time, because we are just coming out of this, we call it a post-COVID-19 era. Even though the COVID-19 challenges are still on, but the government is trying to get the economy to function full force and everything should work well. But with that, with this post-COVID-19 era, is everything in place to fully deregulate the sector, and which, according to him, might lead to increase in poverty when such policies are wrongly timed. So that's a very key point. What else do you think about this? Call us on 090-5252-5107 and let's talk. Let's have a chat on this so that we can know if we should encourage the government to go ahead with the full deregulation of the sector, or we should say no more deregulation, let the subsidy regime continue. But like we said earlier, if the subsidy regime continue, which is good, government trying to see to the funding of this sector so that every marketer or those that are operating in the system will still have their profits guaranteed. But then government is saying that they are no more in charge of what happens in those sectors. So the marketers are fully operating according to market forces, which to some extent is good, but on the other hand will lead to increase in poverty, according to Savior Nduka, because when there is more hike in prices of even food items, food stuff, you discover that more Nigerians, no matter how good the policy is, they will not see it from that angle, but they will see it from the angle of leading to more suffering and more shortage of the basic needs like food items and the rest. Very, very key, because when there is increase in the cost of transportation, definitely it will also lead to increase in different other aspects of the economy, because transportation is key. Movements of goods and services not fully guaranteed because of increase in fuel prices. So it will also give room for increase in different other aspects that will maybe give their excuses based on the fact that Transportation, movement of goods and services is not as free and is not as cheap as it used to be, but it is on the increase. And even with that, we still have the inflation that is so high in the system right now. Nigeria's naira is even weaker than it was some few months and few years ago. It's getting weaker to that extent that a dollar is exchanging for about 400 naira. That's on the average exchange rate per day. So that's not a very good one, because by the time you convert everything, you discover that the market force that controls the naira is not as strong as it should be. So what should be the way forward? How can the government work with this? Should they be encouraged with the deregulation of the full deregulation of the sector? Should they withdraw this current policy that is on? Should the subsidy regime continue? And if these are the case, or if this is the case, what about the private sector? What should they do? Should they still collaborate with the government, or they should be allowed to just operate independent of government forces? Very, very key. So as we look at all this morning, don't forget that we're talking the nation in the right direction, and we also expect you to still chat with us on our page on Facebook, so you can visit us, talk with us, and let us know what you think and what your suggestion is, so that we can take it up from there, even on our Facebook page later. You can also visit our website on www.BlossomNigeria.com, as we also talk the nation in the right direction. So we have different angles and different aspects that you can look at. Then we also have the issues that we have to tackle in the rising electricity tariff. What should the government do, and what should the people do in trying to tackle some of these current challenges in these sectors? Very, very key. And we don't want a system that, no matter how good government intentions are leading to more, in quotes, suffering of the people and more poverty in the system. If that is the case, then a lot more should be done to review some of these policies and decisions, so that it will be to the overall comfort of Nigerians. So tomorrow we're still going to continue on this, but we'll take it from the angle of the effect on the economy. Poverty increasing, more scarcity of food prices, inflation in the system as a result of government decision, even though, like we said earlier, there is guaranteed availability of fuel products in the market. But with these consequences, we'll look at it from the economic angle. Should the government continue? And if not, on the economic index, what should be done to see to it that there's a balance in the system and the people are not feeling the brunt of these government decisions too much, even though they have some advantages. All right. We thank you so much for staying with us on this edition of Dialogue Box. So what we'll do is that, like we said, tomorrow the economic angle is there. We'll look at it from that angle. So let us know what you think economically, according to how we put it in Nigeria. From the statistics angle and the economics, let's look at the core indices that should be reviewed and evaluated in talking the nation in the right direction. We don't want more poverty, we don't want more lack in the system, but we want a system that will be built on mutual benefit, both from the government angle and from the people angle. Thank you so much for staying with us. We look forward to having you tomorrow. So until then, I am Blossom, and I believe in the Nigerian dream.